here with two Cambridge students. You both might introduce yourselves for me.
Hi, I'm Isla and I do classics. And I'm B and I also do classics.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So my first question for you both is, what surprised you the most once you finally got admitted to Cambridge and got to take a look around college?
I got lost immediately in the college, which is we're both at uni, and it's like there's one long corridor that runs through it. I don't know. A lot of scaffolding. Yeah. I'm literally just talking about this. There's everything. There's always something that's being fixed, which is very good.
Oh, the amount of construction.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
It's quite exciting when the scaffolding comes off. Yeah, it's really exciting when the scaffolding's off, because then you can see what's underneath. Yeah.
My second question for you is, what mindset has helped you succeed here so far?
You just keep like, you have to like get work, like put work in as like an everyday thing, which sounds like it becomes like such a routine. I think the routine is the main thing. I just sit down and do like at least a few hours a day. Yeah. It's like kind of not being embarrassed, but maybe not being perfect. Yeah, because like you're always gonna be a bit like stupid compared to the person that's sat next to you. So you just have to get through it. Normalized. Yeah.
that's something that I've heard about. You can't, especially for first year, you cannot expect to get all perfect 100s in your classes.
I mean, like it's like amazing if you get like 70. Yeah. It's not a good mark. Yeah. So I've like done. Yeah, it's a bit of a switch from like school, where it's like people applying to Cambridge getting like 90. Get here. So you got a 60. That's pretty good. Say so.
All right, just one more question for you. What is any piece of advice that you would give to a high school student, maybe international, who's aspiring to apply here, in terms of applications and getting accepted, or really just any kind of work ethics?
I think you want to focus on, because I know that in the US you have a big focus on like extracurriculars, whereas here it's more like they want you to do stuff that's like related to your subject, like extracurriculars, but like similar. I volunteered, taught Latin, which is relevant to what I was applying for. So I think like they're not that bothered about like sports and things like that. Like knowing why you're applying for the subject you're applying for, or like showing interest for your application, like reading stuff, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's more general. Like everyone has to do that. But, yeah. Anyway.
So, and having extracurriculars based on your career, because they want to see that you're actually focused. You're not going to drop out and be like,
like specific.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both so much for your time. Thank you, guys.
I started studying maths. I did first 2 years in maths, and then I switched to natural sciences for my last 2 years. So I did year 1 maths, year 2 maths, and then year 3 I did astrophysics from the natural sciences track, and now I'm doing my master's in astrophysics.
Astrophysics, that's brilliant. Oh my god.
Yeah, to be fair, it's pretty similar to maths, to be fair.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So I run a podcast that was viewed by many high school students. I'm Kirkland, Florida.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm here with another Cambridge student. Do you mind introducing yourself and giving us your major?
So I am Felix, and I'm a 4th year student studying natural sciences here at the University of Cambridge.
You're studying astrophysics.
Yeah,
I
doing
love astrophysics. I might do a summer program on that soon.
Oh,
so
fun!
I hope that happens for me. But anyhow, I love physics, so that kind of hits close to home for me.
No, you're in the right place.
So my first question for you is, first of all, what mindset do you think has helped you succeed, especially in pursuing something so rigorous? What mindset do you think has helped you succeed at school so far?
I think a phrase that resonates with me strongly is productive discomfort. So like sometimes I'll be sitting at the library looking at a problem sheet for a full hour and I won't get anything done because I'll just be so stuffed on the question. If I go to a lecture and half an hour passes and I'm writing stuff down but like I'm not really understanding anything, I think a lot of Cambridge students will experience for the first time quite early on, and they'll think, oh god, I'm doing really badly, oh god, what am I doing here? I think it's a couple of things. First of all, like being stuck on something you're not understanding but pursuing it anyway, even if you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. Like you are making progress, like the kind of act of kind of thinking through a problem even if you're not getting to a solution, or trying to understand something from different points of view. Like, it's worth spending the time doing, because I think it's quite easy to be demotivated when you come across a difficult question or whatever, and then you start procrastinating and then nothing gets done. I think being really persistent, I think, has helped me so far. Being kind to yourself in a way, but also holding yourself accountable, but knowing that if I go to the library and I spend 3 hours on a problem, and even if I write down 2 lines, that it's 3 hours well spent.
I think that is a great mindset to have. That is a completely new perspective. Wow, because being a first year, especially, I just got out from another interview where girls had said that in high school you get all 90s, all that good stuff, and then you come here and then you get a 60. Oh, but that's good.
Yeah, I got 61 in my first year. I was very pleased with that. They give percentages weirdly here, so yeah, if you get a 70%, that's like a first, which is like the highest class. So if you get 70% or above, that places you in like the top cohort of students. So definitely a switch up from school. When I was doing maths test, it always became a game with me and my friends who could get 100% on this test or who could make the fewest mistakes. And now when you get ahead, you end up spending. It becomes much more of a thing of quick fire. We're going to see how much we can do in an hour. Whereas here, with the example sheets and problems you get, it's much more like you go away, you have to think about it for a long time. You get stuck on it, you sleep on it, you wake up and you've got the answer. Like, it's much more like you live and breathe. I think, well, they're definitely from the perspective of doing like maths and like physics, and I think that'll probably be quite applicable in computer science as well.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's a wonderful response. Thank you. My second question for you is, what do you think surprised you the most about being here? And once you got admitted, what surprised you the most about maybe the environment, the classes themselves, the structure of the university?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say this, I don't know if this will make younger me sound arrogant, but I'll say the difficulty. The step from school to uni, or specifically Cambridge, is just so big. And I was just thinking, hearing everybody else saying, oh, this is like really hard, it's one of the hardest courses in the world, and just me thinking, oh no, it'll be okay. I think something else that really surprised me is how short the terms are and how short they feel. So the terms here are only 8 weeks long, and so those less than 2 months, and it passes by incredibly quickly. That was definitely a shock, just the end of my first term. It's literally like being on a roller coaster and just being really scared. And then it's done before you know it, and it's time for the holidays. I think other than that, in terms of things that surprise me, I think everything is the people, the environment, they're much more like normal than I think you'd expect. I think when people picture Cambridge or Oxford, they picture like this Hogwarts scenario, and people constantly walking around like in gowns, or like we have the supervisions, and I don't know, professors pouring glasses of wine in their supervisions against their students. So that doesn't really happen that much. It's on a day-to-day, I would say it's a lot less glamorous. I think it's a very different challenge from school. I think that's something that surprised me. Just different in the way you study or prepare yourselves for exams is just wildly different. And I think it's something you can't really imagine when you're at school, because you haven't really told how it works at university.
Thank you, that was wonderful. There's so much to this environment here that makes me think, oh my gosh, when you go into a class, people are on their white sheets and they've got like gold books.
Yeah.
But no, I think that it's great that the school is still so down to earth.
One thing that definitely holds true with Cambridge is that if you speak to 90% of students here, they'll say, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea how I got in. And I think that there's a big thing of imposter syndrome with students at Cambridge, which on the one hand is not great, but on the other hand, I feel like when you know that like most students have that imposter syndrome, I know that I experienced it when I arrived. And as soon as you realise that all of those students, a lot of those students really have that feeling of not knowing what they're doing, it makes it much nicer and a more welcoming environment than I think you'd expect.
Thank you. So I think it's a good thing to know that in an environment as rigorous as this, you know that you're not going to be alone in terms of struggling as a first year or even a third year.
I think third years, I think you do get more confident, the stakes get higher. So at least for me, so first year is like you're thrown into it and you have no idea what you're doing, but also your first year exams don't count towards your overall degree. Whereas by the time I was in third year, I knew what I was doing. But then that's counteracted by the fact that more or less my entire degree is compressed into 4 exams that take place over the course of a week. Which is not too bad if you just got to not think too much about that specifically. The exams here, especially with the maths exams, there's a lot of traditions that are quite archaic but add to the fun of it. You know, maths, for example, if you get 15 out of 20 on the question to the 14 out of 20 on the question, then they'll add 20 extra marks to your score. But basically, nobody really knows what they're doing. So as long as you keep persisting, even when it feels like you're failing, even when it feels like you don't know what you're doing, trying something or doing something, staring at that sheet for an hour is better than procrastinating for an hour.
Thank you so much. That's definitely a different mentality that I think myself and some other high school students have, because in high school particularly, if there isn't evident like physical progress, then it's looked down upon. But if you can spend 1 hour trying to study it instead of 1 hour on your phone doing God knows what, then that's a lot accomplished. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, so with computer science, there's a lot of pure maths where you just have to think about a problem and it will come to you. So if you come here to do computer science, expect a lot of that, I think.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I can't wait. So just one more question for you. What is, and you've given a lot already, but do you think you have one more piece of advice that you would give to any high school student that's aspiring to come here?
Get good at being able to answer questions and be able to think outside the box, I think. There are plenty of resources online to be able to practice doing these kind of questions. Once you're here, I think my big piece of advice is start early. I remember very vividly the start of my first term here. We had Freshers Week, everybody was going to the pub for a full week and it was really fun. And then after that week ended, I kept going to the pub each night and realising that nobody else was there. And the reason for that was because everybody else had started doing their work. So by that time I was like, oh god, it's very fast. So hop on the train early. I think playing hard is important, but also I think I've found that as I've got through the years, the earlier I've started the work, looking ahead in lecture notes or starting past papers early, like I said, you might spend an hour looking at something and not be able to get anywhere. And that's a much more stressful process if you've not got much time. So I'd advise just start early, basically.
Being able to prioritize the reward over in the future over the reward of comfort in the present.
Yeah.
Because as time goes on, life is only going to get harder. And
yeah. I would say that like my first and second years are definitely the most difficult years in terms of getting through the workload. I think in third year, you know what you're doing. The best way to learn is to make mistakes and to know that if I start this late, that I'm going to have a worse time with it. And also make sure we do some stuff that isn't work. Like at Cambridge, there's so much to get involved with that isn't work. Me personally, I didn't really do any sports before coming here, but I got really involved with the boat club and rowing. And I mean, it's taken up a lot of time, but I think it's definitely worthwhile. It's good to try new things, and it's good to get out of your shell a bit. And you have 3 or 4 years. It's not very long, actually. It goes by very quickly, so make sure you try things. But also, even from like a work perspective, it's really good to have something on the side that you enjoy, not like scrolling or going out to drink. Have that activity, have that hobby that you enjoy. It really does help, and it really adds a lot. And it makes your time here more worthwhile. So yeah, despite what I've said, don't make it all just work.
thank you. No, I remember when I first started out high school, I was actually opposite. I made it all play. I was so into my theater department, I basically barely got by. And so now I'm starting to throw myself into the real world. And like you said, I've got to get ahead. We all do have to get ahead. Because in the end, that's going to end up being more productive approach to getting what you want in the end without this little struggle and hustle.
Yeah, I know a guy that got second in maths out of 250 people in my year. And I also know the guy that topped engineering tripos in the year below me. And both of those people I know, they do tons of extracurricular. They do band, one of them does opera stuff, I think. They make an effort to have lives outside of doing work. So I think this stereotype of locking yourself in your room and just spending hours and hours doing work and nothing else and not socializing, that's not what the best people do. So you might as well go out and have a bit of fun, because I think it's good for yourself and also for your degrees.
Wow, well, thank you so much. Your responses have been wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes,
This was great.
thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It was great having you. Hi everyone. We have 3 more students here from Cambridge. Do you mind introducing yourselves and your major?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Naomi and I study history.
I'm Tom, I study English.
I study English too.
Edit that out.
Thanks. Thank you.
So my first question for you all is, what mindset do you think has helped you succeed here in the college at Cambridge so far?
Probably just to go slow and steady. I know that's not everyone's working habit, but for me it's always been, if you do a solid 8-7 hours a day, it will pay off in the end, and just be consistent.
Yeah, I was going to say being consistent was my answer, yeah.
But cramming also works.
As we both know,
So,
yeah.
don't stress if you cram and if it works.
Thank you. No, I'm with you on that.
Good,
I didn't
good.
do that as well.
There's big discrimination on the crammers in this world, I think. Yeah. Don't look down on us.
Thank you. So my next question for you all is, what do you think surprised you the most once you actually got admitted into Cambridge? What do you think about the classes or the atmosphere really caught you off guard, maybe in a good way or in a not so good way?
Well, calling teachers by their first names is really
Yeah,
hard.
to be fair, really
Yeah.
jarring.
Yeah, they'd be like,
Yeah.
we'd have to email them and I'd be like, in the UK it's quite common to call in the UK it's quite common to like say sir or miss when you're talking to a teacher, but I'd like refer to my professors or like my supervisors as sir and email, and they'd be like, no, it's just Ben, and I'm like, no, actually you're sir to me. That was really weird.
That does sound like a huge culture change, yeah. All right, thank you. My last question for you guys is, if you had any advice for a high school student that wants to come here, maybe internationally, what would you guys give them?
Is this in terms of the application process? Or?
It could be about whatever you guys decide.
I feel like this is specific to like the application and interview process, but I think at the end of the day, they're not really looking for people who say the right things, the correct things, the right answer to anything. As long as you have like your own independent way of thinking, and that happens to be something that is special, I think that's what they value the most. So I think, because I really obsessed over, I have to get this right, to say the right thing, but I think that actually leads you down a bad spiral. So just whatever comes to your mind, I think that's what you should put down on the page, or whatever else to really do. This is most for humanities though. So, Tom?
Yeah, I'd say read. And because like read broadly, just try and read stuff, make your own original thoughts about it. And, it's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like the main thing for me was the reading, but also just think differently. Like when I did the first couple of practice questions, I remember I was like, oh, like I just have to get the best answer. And then I was like, wait, actually, what if we look at this from a different perspective? Like, if you're asked to say, I don't know, I remember one of my interview questions was, how would you define a civilization? I was like, well, what isn't a civilization? Try and do a negative definition. Try and look at it from, if you had to take a step back. And also, like, I mean, just have fun. Try and have fun in the interviews. Like, at the worst case scenario, you have a one-off conversation with two people who are experts in the field that you're really passionate about. And as long as, even if you go into that mindset, I think it's just, you're in a good spot.
Wonderful, thank you. So there's interviews that are part of the process here at applying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the UK, I know you do the US system. So it's not like in the US where you have like majors and minors or double majors. We do honours, so you can do single honours, which is just one, and you can do joint honours, but here it's pretty much all single honours. Oxford is more joint honours. And when you apply, you'll have to do a personal statement, which is not like a college application essay. If you're going to apply to Cambridge, do not do a college application essay. You've got to write, it's basically like an essay / book review if you're trying to get in here. Like, it's all about, I read this book, I thought this about it, I then read this other book, and that changed my opinion, because it's not like a personal thing.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then we do interviews after that. They'll ask you if they like your personal statement, and in some cases if they like your exam. Do you guys do
Yeah, I did an ELAB.
Yeah.
We did an ELAB.
Yeah, we did. I did a half.
Yeah.
At some point, and then they'll ask you to interview. So normally an interview, they'll give you an assessment, and then you'll do 2 interviews with 2 people in each interview.
Oh, wow, I did not know that. Thank you.
No worries.
That was very helpful. Okay. Well, thank you 3 so much. Oh my gosh.
No
I really
worries.
appreciate it. It was great having you.
Have a good rest of your trip.
here now at Cambridge University.
Yeah, I'm Matty, and I've lived in Cambridge pretty much my whole life.
What stands out to you the most about the environment here?
So I think, from my perspective, when you're from it's all often you get used to these buildings. When you actually take a step back, you realise just how old the history.
How safe would you say life around campus here is? Or in general?
So it's a relatively safe city, generally speaking. Obviously, if you go somewhere at night in the wrong part of town, there's always going to be a few places you might not want to go, but that's everywhere. But generally speaking, it's one of the safest places.
What is your favorite part about this town?
Probably the history. You could walk 10 minutes outside of the city and still see amazing buildings, amazing architecture.
Thank you so much.
So, Cambridge was a complete surprise. After Oxford, I arrived with a completely different perspective. I knew that each university had its own energy, and here, in Cambridge, I really felt that. From the moment that you arrive, it feels completely different. There's so much nature, there are trees everywhere, the atmosphere is calm, open, but most importantly, different. And the scenery was just unreal. It honestly felt like something from a storybook, and that reflected on the people there too. From the start, I found a lot more openness, people willing to share, to talk about their experience. I began by speaking with a local, and he gave me a more different perspective. It was more of an everyday reality in the town. And then I met someone who's doing a master's in astrophysics, and he gave me so much of his time. I think it was a total of 17 minutes. He explained everything clearly and thoughtfully. It was a very thoughtful gesture of his. And then more students. One after the other after the other. The conversations just flowed so naturally. It was an amazing experience. And I also think timing played a role. They weren't in the middle of exams like in Oxford, and that genuinely made a difference. But beyond that, there was a more open energy. It was very human. And that made all the difference. I finished my interviews with so much more energy. There was more motivation and more satisfaction from my end, obviously. Like everything clicked. And that's when we closed the trip to England. The next day, we flew home with a head full of ideas and excited to edit everything and share it with you. And so, until next time, unmute your mind and lift up the world. Thank you guys. Bye!